Hey, Richard.
How are you doing? Okay. Are you recovered? Percent? Okay, we'll start this meeting. Oh, council meeting committee, a whole meeting disclaimer. The meeting can be viewed in real time online. Being is being recorded. It will be available on the village website for up to 6 months. By attending this meeting, you are hereby giving consent to being visible online and to be recorded for future viewing over the internet. Also, all information provided at open meeting or at council or its committees is considered public. If you provide or disclose your personal information to us for that purpose, including delegations, presentations, speaking during public comment period, submitting correspondence or written public comment, you are consenting to that information being available to the public, including through our posting on our website or webcasting. Okay. And we ask that everybody turns their phones off. And we call this meeting to order. No late items, so we'll take a motion for the agenda. So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Any errors, omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. You're off again, John.
I'll just have to go vocally. I don't know what's happening here, but okay, yeah, I'm in favor of.
Yeah. Okay, perfect, thank you. Adoption of the minutes of the 2024.
Move to adopt minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any errors, omissions in that one? Hearing none, all in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Okay, so we have a presentation. And who's going to do the presentation?
We're gonna share.
Okay.
Can I move this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You're
Kathy, would you like me to bring anything up here?
Do you guys have the documents that we?
Yeah.
If they've got them now, we're fine.
Okay.
So, indulge us with a short song. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
But don't start with embarrassment. Okay, so. The brief, I think, kind of covered a lot of what we were gonna say. It was excellent, so you guys have seen that. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the process that Photos has gone through in the last couple of years. I don't think anybody thought it would take, that things take this long, but they do, and we're just gonna kind of run through that. Because what we were really hoping to do is make sure, we want to do is make sure we're doing this right. And we're discovering that takes a long time. So, and then Phil is going to talk about 322 first and why we've chosen the Takamichi House across from the water tower as our preferred place of location. And then we'd be happy to answer any questions. So, we received a request for the notice board in March 2024. So the board only meets once a month, and we started working on that. And we worked on it till about September, where we worked on some designs. Keith put a design in, Phil put a design in. We talked to residents about what they wanted to see. I know that Val met with Jess to look at different locations. And then once we thought we had something pretty good, we met with Ash and Jess in September. And showed them our proposal, and they gave us some ideas. And then Ash set us up for the February 2025 meeting. And that's what I think was a committee of the whole. And that's when the discussion about policy came in. It turns out that there wasn't a policy. So it seemed like a good thing to do. So Policy was put together and when the photos sent Ash or Jess some policy samples. And we were waiting for the policy to come out so we could put in a proper application. So moving along, there was, and I might get some clarification on this. I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding in the February 2025 meeting. Because at that point, you guys voted for, what you voted as staff to put the policy together. And I remember, Leonard, you had mentioned that you wanted it in the campground, and what I think we misunderstood. We thought what you were saying is that if it was in the campground, it wouldn't need a policy. So that's why we thought with the policy getting done, then the campground was out of the equation again, but I'm not sure we got that right. In the park. Yeah. So in March, sent us some sample policies. In July, you guys, council, you passed the notice board policy. And in late July, we worked, and we submitted the official application. And at that point, we put some changes on there, because when we talked in February, we were talking about, we were gonna have it go east-west, two-sided. And in February, when we talked, we moved it to one-sided, north-south. And to do that, we also had to change our text and pics and things like that to make it smaller so we could fit it one-sided. And that's kind of what that picture is up there. That's what we ended up with. So we made some changes and they were good changes. So we sent that in thinking, woo, we're done. And then in August, so we figured John wanted to be done with the application. In August, we got an answer from the village, which was exciting, but it was actually to go see the marketing consultant in order to sort of harmonize some of our texts and pictures, which was like, we didn't even know we had a marketing consultant. So we got ready to do that. That was a little bit, that was like, we hadn't seen that in the policy, that we had to harmonize things, but it actually turned out to be a good thing. I mean, she did a really good job putting some of the ideas we had together with ideas she had together. September, we wanted to survey the residents formally. We had surveyed the residents informally back in like previous September. And in the documents on page 4 and 5, we surveyed, there were 31 people that are mostly year-round residents in the orchard, that we gave them a choice of, do you want to see it in the park or do you want to see it at 332 First Avenue? So it was pretty much all the residents wanted to see it in front of Chinookos. So we finally got around to finishing up with the marketing consultant in January and sent in our changes, which we really liked. So that actually turned out to be a good idea. And then that's when we got back that there needed to be a discussion about location. So we're here, Phil's going to talk about why of the 4 choices that was put in the brief, that we would be for choice number 1 between the Takamichi House and the water tower. Okay.
Okay. Any questions so far? Okay.
Self-explanatory.
Good. All right. So, and actually, I think we had discussed this way back in February of last year, was what we perceived to be the advantages of going in the location in front of the Takamichi House. Essentially, what we, as Friends of the Orchard, we have a bit of a strategy here. We really appreciate the remnants of the old camp, and we also appreciate that the buildings that were in the old camp provide a sort of a setting for the jewel in the crown, which is the Nikkei Center. But it's really important because people do not like having their areas zoned for heritage protection. So it's really important to try to build a sense in the community that the features of these buildings are really valued by the people who live here. And we get a reflection of that, of course, by the people who come here and say, this is really cool. So it's rather important for our point of view to have this community bulletin board slanted toward encouraging the local people who are looking at what's on the bulletin board to sort of go, oh yeah, I've got a couple of these features in you know, a shack or part of my house or something. And this is a good thing. So the value of having it in that particular location is that they have right behind the sign one of the best examples of one of these shacks looking right from the 1950s, and apparently the interior is very similar. And right across the street is another house in its original location, slightly modified, and behind that is the old Camp Watertop. So the location then reminds everybody who lives here, hey, you're surrounded by this stuff. Here are the really obvious examples. And the message on the board says, and here are some other features. You know, if you've got a 6-pane window in your house, don't necessarily upgrade it and throw the thing out. Maybe you can double glaze with something else and retain that to keep that as a feature, because that's what gives us this sense of connection with the past and the whole story and so on. So that's the essence of the case, but also the location is a lot more central to the actual residential part of the orchard. And if you look at the Japanese Canadian Legacy Tour information up on their website, they actually identify the orchard as a distinct entity from the Nikkei Center and from the Kohen Garden, both of which are other key features. But they're interesting. Their sort of air photo shows the orchard, and when you look at that photo, you see that the location in front of the Tatamichi House is pretty central. So it's sort of playing mind games to avoid trying to have our environment lost over time. We're already seeing new buildings coming in and so on, but the idea is get that community feeling really proud of all the elements, keep it going. And that's why it's so important to have those two elements close to the board. That's actually the location of a previous bulletin board, according to both Mas Matsushita and Shoko Reitmeyer. There was a board actually running. Sorry?
I volunteer to witness that too.
Yeah. So that's the pitch. Now, actually, the CAO very kindly met with us when this meeting had been scheduled to kind of go over a few things. And I had meant to ask sort of what the rationale was for a Centennial Park location, because we spent our time sort of explaining the rationale for this location. And I can understand a certain amount of compatibility with the Kazuma Trail and the route down to the garden and so on, but I'm not clear enough about the rationale for not having it in that location to sort of say, oh, well, you want it there, that's fine. So I'd sort of appreciate if anyone knows what why the staff recommends that location as opposed to the one we've argued for, and are there any reasons, are there any flaws in our arguments, or what we're looking for is a constructive collaboration on this, because I think it's going to be a benefit to certainly to the residents. They're very strongly in favor, as you can see by the gang here that came out tonight. So I don't know whether this is the correct forum to do that, or whether we need to go back to further discussion.
We will go around the table and council will be able to respond. John, you can start. Just one sec, John. He's on mute.
John, if you're talking, you're still muted.
As much as I like that.
Try that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That didn't take long. Okay, so I'm sorry I'm unverified. I live about 50 meters from what Photos is proposing, and I see during the summer I see an awful lot of campground people walking after dinner, and I kind of agree with Phil's location. for the reasons, I mean, and Chioko's okay with it being there as well. Her house is a perfect example of it. So the presentation is good. I mean, even you got your footings in there. And it looks like most of the full-time residents that are on that list are in favor. So I don't see a problem. You would get lots of views there. So I'm kind of in favor of the photos location as illustrated in the presentation. That's it for me.
I just want to thank Photos for all the hard work. I know this has been a long process and that can try someone's patience. I know us at this council table also have had projects that have taken, years and that bureaucracy can be slow, and we have a small staff, and I'm really glad that some of the things that you were required to do ended up being really beneficial and improving the project. We're really dependent on our nonprofit groups who work hard to maintain and improve the vibrancy of this community in terms of arts, culture, recreation, heritage. So thank you for that. I don't have any questions about the location. I think it's like if you have a museum, you have the sign next to the artifact telling you what it is. And so in terms of the location, it makes a lot of sense to me. But I just want to say thanks for sticking this out.
I guess I just want to make something clear in my mind. Is this bulletin board for the use of all of New Denver, all New Denver residents, not specific to the orchard?
Absolutely. And the idea is we've got the Sixth Avenue board that sort of has been serving the entire community. But there are other things in this community and broader that if you have something on the board here, it saves you, going over and walking down, looking at Sixth Avenue one, and similarly, there may be communications within the community. But the idea is, I think, to strengthen the feeling of neighborhood and then the association with the heritage of the neighborhood. So it's definitely, it's open to everybody and would be maintained for that purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as that's understood by photos and everything in the orchard. Yeah, I compliment you on your patience and hard work, and looks like you've put together a pretty nice draft here anyway, so that was my main question.
Hey, so as far as your air photo, because the whole orchard was the internment camp, that's why that full picture is on the NHAC's website. To your point exactly of having the bulletin board on Sixth Avenue versus having one down there would be the same argument of having one in the park so that the campers that are there. And the point is so that they could go around and see what is going on in the community and maybe be a part of the community. One program that was very successful, we hear a lot of even today, even though as it's some of the photos and the different things that the museum did with at every heritage site have a post, little plaque and asking, and if it was in a bulletin board in the orchard or at the down at the park, then the campers could see that and then walk around and actually, with the great map that you've already done of it all, and see that. It actually makes people move around and witness it. So in that aspect, it's about trying to include more people and not isolating people. And, you might not be well aware of, but for a lot of years, it took a long time to get that orchard that was part of New Denver to be included in New Denver because it was isolated for a long time. The residents were not allowed down there. Over different cases, yeah. So.
Gotta add that to the board.
It's pretty clear. You've seen what has been of that place, unfortunately. It's actually unfortunate in the state of our hospital. There's a long history of different stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm aware of that.
No, and this wasn't, the residents didn't get a chance. The residents of this community years ago had to go through lease at their school because of what the province and the feds had put down in that site. So I personally, for me, it's taking a step backwards, putting the billboard there just for the orchard and making the orchard something again going backwards. It's very inclusive. There's been some very good work done there by you guys. Well appreciated. And I think we could enhance it if we just include the whole community and get the community to walk around, get people to walk around the community, not just in the orchard, but up on this side of the river. So it is a community. Community is everybody. There's not isolated groups in it. We are not the city of, we're not the city of New York or LA where you can have all your different heritages. So,
Yeah, and if I may speak to that,
yeah, you,
the Silbury Silcan Historical Society did a fantastic job, as you said, of putting building markers and so on. And I think there's definitely potential for that over here. And the important thing, from my point of view, with the board being in that location, is that people will notice as they drive by, people as they walk around will say, "I wonder what was on that notice board." That'll draw them into the area. As well as the residents who are actually already,
yeah,
familiar with it and so on.
as somebody's put out a lot of signs, people don't read. They don't see the signs, guarantee you, unfortunately, like until they're stopped and walking around. That was the idea of that trail, is to bring the two pieces together. Because the Cohen Garden was of the Japanese Canadians that were interned here. That was one of their visions. And the Nikkei Center and putting those two together, because when you sit in that park, you don't see any of that. You don't know,
Yeah, no,
you don't know that the Nikkei Center is there.
Yes.
And with a bulletin board there where it would attract and we could put things on it, you could have your two-sided bulletin board and we could put things on it for the whole community. Not just one area. So that's why I saw it. Okay, any more?
To that,
No. Thanks.
Gordon?
No. This isn't a debate.
No, I was just trying to offer a compromise. You mentioned about the markers, and why not two bulletin boards? One historic, one with a historic marker on it that says, there's another bulletin.
We have a policy to follow. We made the policy on it, so. Okay. Any other questions council has for him? You're welcome to stay and see council's vote and that on it. Shortly after.
If we may, we have another meeting after this. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's right up.
Well, you won't be voting on it quite yet.
No,
Council meeting in 2 weeks.
yeah. Okay.
Are we not making a recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's the thing.
Okay.
If it doesn't go from here, it doesn't go to there.
Correct.
So, okay. Okay, new business.
I would like to put forward a motion recommending option 1.
Second,
I'll second it.
okay. Any more discussion needed on it?
The discussion I have is that we're in danger of making much ado about nothing here. Because I would hope this is part of an ongoing photos plan, which possibly could include numbers on your map and little signs on specific places. So like I say, I see this as part of the overall project and not the be all and end all.
Absolutely. If I may respond to that.
Okay, well, no, we're getting off.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah, you're addressing council. You're addressing council, not.
Okay, I'm addressing council.
We're at council.
Sorry, those were my remarks to council.
Yeah. Okay. Any other councils want to comment? Hearing none? Call the question. All in favor?
Mike's in favor.
Okay, carried. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll move to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Okay,
Very short council meeting, well, we did the only business item.
Go back,
We have 2 items on the regular meeting.
regular meeting.
So John.
Yeah.
And the person who's watching online, there's a different link for the next meeting. So I'm gonna close this meeting and start that next one.
Okay, did you send it to me?
It's in the agenda.
Yeah, you should have.
Okay, I went to it and I'm there now.
Oh, maybe that's the normal. Okay, I'm gonna end this version then. Just yeah.